Welcome to the all-new Hoop Nova, your ultimate source for everything basketball.
What's like the league reaction to what the Lakers have done in the offseason?
Choice is LeBron James's right now. It's up to him on a choice of which team he wants to play for.
We want to let these guys grow together. We want to let them have some continuity. They have no flexibility. This is their team.
The Los Angeles Lakers offseason is basically finished, and with the recent signing of Matisse Thybulle, we finally have a clear picture of what this team will look like heading into next season. After spending hundreds of millions of dollars and completely reshaping the roster around Luka Doncic, it's time to ask the big question. Did the Lakers actually improve enough to become championship contenders? At first glance, some of their moves look solid. They added defensive depth, improved their perimeter defense, and continued building around Luka. But when you dig deeper, a major problem becomes impossible to ignore. The Lakers may have fixed some minor weaknesses while completely ignoring the one issue that could ultimately hold them back. The biggest addition was Matisse Thybulle, who signed a one-year veteran minimum contract. From a value perspective, this is an excellent move. Thybulle remains one of the best defensive specialists in the NBA. Despite limited playing time over the last couple of seasons, he consistently ranks among league leaders in steals, deflections, and overall defensive activity. He's a two-time all-defensive player with a nearly 7-foot wingspan and has built a reputation as one of the most disruptive perimeter defenders in basketball. Even more encouraging is the improvement in his shooting. Early in his career, defenses completely ignored him on the offensive end. However, over the past 2 seasons, he has become a respectable three-point shooter, converting around 40% of his attempts. Getting that type of defensive player for the veteran minimum is tremendous value, but there's one huge problem: Matisse. Thybulle is not the player the Lakers desperately needed. He's a guard-sized defender standing around, 6'5". What the Lakers truly lacked this entire offseason was an athletic, switchable forward capable of defending bigger wings and elite scorers in the playoffs. Adding another perimeter defender doesn't solve that issue. In many ways, Thybulle's signing perfectly summarizes the Lakers' entire offseason. They addressed the cheaper problems while leaving the biggest hole on the roster untouched. Another interesting detail surrounding the signing is that Luka Doncic reportedly played a significant role in recruiting Thybulle. According to reports, Luka and head coach JJ Redick personally spoke with him about his role on the team before he made his decision. This isn't the first time we've heard about Luka being heavily involved in roster decisions. At this point, Luka isn't simply the franchise superstar anymore. He's becoming one of the organization's most influential voices, much like LeBron James was during his Lakers tenure. Whether that's a good thing or not remains to be seen, but it clearly shows how much power Luka already has within the organization. However, Thybulle's arrival created another major issue. The Lakers now have 16 guaranteed contracts on their roster.NBA rules only allow 15 players on standard contracts entering the regular season. Normally, this wouldn't be a big deal. Teams usually waive a player on a partially guaranteed contract and move on. The Lakers don't have that luxury. Every single contract on their roster is fully guaranteed. That means somebody legitimate has to go. Even worse, simply waiving a player doesn't create meaningful financial flexibility because the Lakers are already operating far above the salary cap. A trade now feels inevitable. According to multiple reports, 2 names have emerged as potential trade candidates: Jared Vanderbilt and Dalton Knecht. The Lakers are reportedly exploring deals involving both players while also attaching second-round draft picks in hopes of creating roster flexibility. Irony here is almost unbelievable. Jared Vanderbilt is arguably one of the few players already on the roster who fits the exact role the Lakers desperately need. He's an athletic forward capable of defending multiple positions, switching onto star wings, and bringing energy on defense. In other words, the Lakers may end up trading one of their only legitimate defensive forwards just so they can pursue another defensive forward. That's where Jonathan Kuminga enters the picture. Throughout the offseason, the Lakers have consistently been linked to Kuminga. He represents exactly the type of player they need: young, athletic, versatile, and capable of guarding multiple positions while also contributing offensively. So why hasn't a deal happened yet? The answer appears to be twofold. First, the Lakers simply don't want to pay the asking price. Reports suggest that the organization is unwilling to part with significant draft assets in order to acquire Kuminga. This is a revealing decision. It's not that they don't believe Kuminga would help them. They clearly understand his value. The issue is whether they believe he's worth sacrificing future assets. Secondly, the structure of a potential trade has become increasingly complicated. The original plan reportedly involved sending Jared Vanderbilt to another team as part of a larger sign-and-trade scenario. Unfortunately for Los Angeles, those plans have stalled because interested teams aren't eager to take on Vanderbilt's contract. As a result, the Lakers may now need to involve a third team just to make the finances work. Time is also becoming a serious factor. The Lakers need to reduce their roster to 15 players before the season begins. A Kuminga trade would solve multiple problems simultaneously. They could move multiple players, acquire the forward they need, and become roster compliant in one move, but they aren't, alone in the race. The Cleveland Cavaliers are also monitoring the situation. Their plans reportedly depend on what happens with LeBron James. If Cleveland fails to reunite with LeBron, they could immediately pivot toward pursuing Jonathan Kuminga. That puts tremendous pressure on Los Angeles. The Lakers are no longer simply negotiating. With another team, they're competing against time and rival interest. If Cleveland becomes aggressive, Los Angeles could lose their best opportunity to fill their biggest weakness. Looking at the entire offseason from a broader perspective, the Lakers have done some good things. They added depth, they improved perimeter defense, they found quality role players on affordable contracts, and they fully committed to building around Luka Doncic. But championship teams are usually defined by how well they address their biggest weaknesses, and right now, the Lakers still lack the athletic, switchable forward every contender needs in today's NBA. Unless they find a way to land Jonathan Kuminga or another player capable of filling that role, this offseason may ultimately be remembered as a series of good moves that still fell short of making them true title favorites. The Lakers improved. The question is whether they improved enough. At the moment, the answer still feels uncertain. Now that we've broken down the individual moves, let's take a step back and evaluate the Lakers' entire offseason. The easiest way to do that is by looking at their biggest needs entering the summer. First, they desperately needed a center. To their credit, they solved that problem by acquiring Walker Kessler. There's no denying Kessler's talent. He's one of the league's better young rim protectors, an elite rebounder, and exactly the kind of interior presence the Lakers lacked last season. He immediately upgrades their defense and gives Luka Doncic a reliable lob threat in pick-and-roll situations. The problem isn't the player. The problem is the price. The Lakers reportedly gave up a massive package of assets and committed enormous money to make the deal happen. While Kessler is a very good player, many around the league believe Los Angeles significantly overpaid. And in today's NBA, overpaying for one player can create problems everywhere else on the roster. Next on the list was shooting. Again, the Lakers addressed this need by adding players like Quentin Grimes and Collin Sexton. Both players bring scoring ability, shot creation, and additional spacing around Luka on paper. Those are excellent additions. But there's another issue. They're both guards. The Lakers already had plenty of guards on the roster. At some point, adding more backcourt talent creates diminishing returns, especially when other areas of the team remain weak. Then we get to the biggest need of all, athletic wings. This was arguably the #1 priority entering the offseason. The Lakers needed a big, switchable forward who could defend elite scorers, play multiple positions, and survive against the best teams in the Western Conference. And this is where things become concerning. Yes, the Lakers added perimeter defense through players like Ziaire Williams and Matisse Thybulle. Those are solid, low-cost additions, but neither player truly solves the biggest issue. They still don't have that large, athletic forward capable of matching up with players like Jason Tatum, Kevin Durant, Jalen Williams, or even the elite wings Oklahoma City can throw at opponents. The most important box on the offseason, checklist, remains unchecked. The Lakers also made the decision to keep Austin Reaves. That was expected. Reaves has become one of the most valuable undrafted success stories in recent NBA history. After averaging over 23 points per game last season and continuing to improve as both a scorer and playmaker, keeping him was the obvious move. Still, some fans wonder whether things could have been different if Reaves had accepted slightly less money. Under the new collective bargaining agreement, Roster flexibility has become more important than ever. Teams are now heavily punished for spending too aggressively, making it increasingly difficult to build complete championship rosters. That's why players willing to sacrifice some money can become incredibly valuable. Look at the New York Knicks. Their aggressive roster-building strategy was only possible because Jalen Brunson reportedly left a massive amount of money on the table. That decision allowed New York to continue adding talent around him. The Lakers didn't get that kind of flexibility. As a result, they're now operating with virtually no breathing room. If I had to give this offseason a grade right now, I'd probably settle somewhere between a C+ and a soft B. Oh, it's not a disaster. The Lakers absolutely improved. They upgraded their center position. They added more shooting. They improved perimeter, defense. Those are meaningful improvements. But they also sacrificed much of their future flexibility, and they still failed to address their biggest weakness. That's the concern. Because according to multiple reports around the league, many executives were shocked by how much Los Angeles gave up for Walker Kessler. Not because Kessler isn't a good player, but because the Lakers may no longer possess enough assets to make another major move, and that's a dangerous position to be. They're already over the roster limit. They're deep into luxury tax territory. They have limited draft capital remaining, and they don't have many realistic paths to further improvement. This is essentially the team. For better or worse, the Lakers are committed to this roster. What's even more interesting is that Luka Doncic appears to have played a significant role in shaping it. Multiple reports indicate that Luka was personally involved in recruiting several of these players. This isn't simply Rob Pelinka's roster anymore. This is Luka's team. And with that level of influence comes responsibility. If this group succeeds, Luka will receive a great deal of credit. But if they fall short, criticism will inevitably come his way as well, because these are the players he reportedly wanted. Now the biggest question remains, can this team actually compete for a championship? To answer that, you don't look at the entire Western Conference. You look directly at the team standing in their way, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the defending champions, the team that eliminated the Lakers, and currently represents the standard of the Western Conference. And surprisingly, this is where some optimism exists. Luka Doncic has already beaten this core before. Back in 2024, Luka led the Dallas Mavericks into a playoff series against Oklahoma City, who entered as the #1 seed. Most people expected the Thunder to advance. Instead, Luka defeated them in 6 games. That matters. Very few players in the Western Conference can honestly say they've already solved this Oklahoma City team in a playoff environment. Luka is one of them. Of course, the Thunder were younger and less experienced back then, but perhaps it goes deeper than experience. Maybe Luka simply understands how to attack their defensive schemes better than anyone else. If that's true, then despite all the concerns surrounding the Lakers offseason, there may still be a path forward. Because in the playoffs, having the best player in a series can change everything. And Luka Doncic has already proven that he can beat the team everyone else is trying to catch. A lot of people are looking at the Oklahoma City Thunder losing key players and immediately assuming the Lakers now have a clear path to the NBA Finals. But it's not that simple. Yes, the Thunder are weaker than they were a few months ago. Because of the financial pressure created by the new CBA and the second apron penalties, Oklahoma City had to make difficult decisions. The biggest move was trading away Lu Dort, one of the best perimeter defenders in basketball. And for the Lakers, that's a significant development. Dort was exactly the type of defender teams throw at Luka Doncic. He's physical, relentless, and capable of making life miserable for opposing superstars. Over the years, he established himself as one of the NBA's premier defensive stoppers and played a huge role in OKC's identity, but he wasn't the only departure. The Thunder also lost important rotation. Pieces like Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe, 2 players who provided valuable depth, shooting, and defensive versatility. Suddenly, the defending champions don't look quite as deep as they once did. More importantly, they've become thinner in the exact area that matters most when facing Luka Doncic. Perimeter defense. That's why many Lakers fans are feeling optimistic. Luka has already beaten this core before. Back in 2024, he led Dallas past the Thunder despite Oklahoma City being the #1 seed. Now, with some of their best defenders gone, it feels like the door may finally be opening for Los Angeles, but we have to be careful. This isn't the same Thunder team Luka defeated years ago. That version of Oklahoma City was young, inexperienced, and still learning how to win. Today's Thunder are champions. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is now a 2-time MVP and one of the best players in basketball. Jalen Williams has become an all-star caliber player, and Chet Holmgren continues to develop into one of the league's most unique talents. Their championship core remains intact. Losing Lu Dort certainly makes them more vulnerable, but it doesn't suddenly turn them into an easy playoff matchup. Let's not forget that the Lakers were swept by Oklahoma City just a few months ago. The gap between these two teams still exists. The difference now is that the door has cracked open, slightly. The question is whether the Lakers have built a roster capable of walking through it, and that's where all of the offseason concerns come back into the conversation. A weaker Thunder team gives Luka a better opportunity, but Luka can't do everything by himself. He needs help. He needs athletic defenders who can match up against players like Shai and Jalen Williams. He needs versatile wings capable of switching across multiple positions and surviving in a 7-game series. That's why adding Matisse Thybulle was helpful, and that's exactly why failing to land a player like Jonathan Kuminga could become such a massive mistake, because Oklahoma City isn't the only threat in the Western Conference. San Antonio now has Victor Wembanyama entering his prime. Houston added Kevin Durant alongside Alperen Sengun and Amen. Thompson, Minnesota has Anthony Edwards and LaMelo. Denver still has Nikola Jokic at the Western Conference. Remains an absolute nightmare, which brings us back to the Lakers. Their offseason wasn't bad. In fact, it was pretty good. They became deeper, improved defensively, and surrounded Luka with better-fitting role players. But they also sacrificed flexibility, gave away future assets, and still haven't solved their biggest weakness. Right now, they feel like a very good regular season team. A team capable of winning plenty of games and entertaining fans all year long. But becoming a true championship contender is a different challenge. Entirely. The Thunder have opened the door. The only question now is whether the Lakers built a roster capable of stepping through it. And until they find that missing athletic wing, it's hard to say they have.